Call the final meeting of our study committee on access to affordable childcare to order. I'm the only person here in person today as we're just going to be reviewing and adopting our report. On Zoom, I show Senator Parent, Senator Dixon, and Senator Brass. Are all y'all able to hear me?
I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Senator Parent.
I can hear
Good
you,
afternoon.
Mr. Brass.
I can hear you, Chairman.
All right, so we have a quorum. Thank you all for joining us. We have circulated a draft of our study committee report to the members, and I've been getting feedback from members as of even this morning, working on the final draft of this. And I think we have a final draft together. I want to start just briefly by thanking everyone for your participation in this process. When you see the report, you will see we outlined every single hearing. We recognized everyone that contributed towards this process. And we took most of what you asked us to consider. We took all of it in consideration, but we also have some concrete recommendations I'm going to read over very quickly. And we could not have done this without your help. And I also want to stop and recognize the Lieutenant Governor. This was a committee that came from his office, the idea of this. And he has, of course, he established this committee and set the committee up, and his office, including Enos, who's with us here today, has contributed in a great way to making sure we get this right. And I know that his office today released a press release committing this committee and outlined some of the priorities that he's going to have coming into the next legislative session. So we appreciate his leadership on this, and of course appreciate all the members of the committee for your work as well. When we started this, I said the very first hearing, we won't solve this problem. We can't fix this as state government. This is something that is bigger than us. The issue of affording childcare has great impacts across our state. It affects individual families, those families that we don't get to hear from because they're at home caring for their children or trying to balance a job while caring for children. But we heard from a lot of groups that speak on their behalf. We heard from the child care centers and the impact that that the industry currently has on them, and from trying to get funding to trying to get workers themselves. We heard from individuals that says the child care workers in the facilities have issues with child care. And also want to recognize our friends in the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, our business community that's come forth and recognizes this issue. We've heard from businesses that are able to offer solutions themselves, but they recognize the problem that we have and trying to make sure they have the workforce to fill the jobs that are coming to our state. And lastly, our nonprofits, our after-school programs. Of course, we got to go visit down in McDonough, the Boys and Girls Club, and to see the work they're doing in the community down there. So we appreciate everybody coming to the table, and we know this is an issue. We know this is a big problem, and I think that there are things, luckily, that we can do that we're going to go over here now to make childcare more accessible in our state and to make it more affordable. And so I'll briefly read over the recommendations from the committee, and then be happy to take a motion to adopt the report. And so we really broke this down to three categories. Number one, improving workforce recruitment, development, retention. Number two, expanding access to serve more families. And number three, increasing funding opportunities for child care providers. Under number one, I do have the right one. Should I read the most updated one? Thank you, Hannah. And thank you, Hannah and Bailey, for your work on this, obviously, and trying to get all this together, and Bailey for your work in helping draft this report as well. We could not have done this without you, without both of you all. So we appreciate your work. Under improving workforce recruitment, development, and retention, we have provide additional options for childcare workers to receive access to funding for childcare services. I mentioned that in my opening remarks. Implementing a refundable tax credit for early childhood educators. Evaluating goals and state funding guidelines regarding pay for infant and toddler classroom teachers in reference to current pre-K and pre-12 teachers' pay, something that came directly from the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, I believe. Consider enacting state laws concerning discrimination against and accommodations for new and expectant parents in the workplace, something we discussed in our last hearing. Second, in looking at trying to expand more access to serve more families, increase the tax credit for child and dependent care expenses. Prioritize the creation of a Georgia child tax credit, helping families with youngest children offset the expenses they incur as their children reach school age. Increasing state funding for our CAPS program to provide access for more Georgia families. considering access to pre-K for families with 3-year-olds under the existing program funded by the Georgia Lottery, considering grants to USG and TCSG schools to cover childcare for student parents who are enrolled in programs that align with the state's new high-demand career list, encourage businesses to support their employees in accessing childcare through cost sharing and other innovative initiatives, provide extensive evaluation of the current CAPS program, and consider new funding models and policies to ensure the program is serving all Georgia families and communities in the most efficient and equitable manner. I want to stop there too and say I did have a great call this week, Commissioner Jacobs with DECAL. We were not able to get her into our last hearing that we had, but she has been following this process as well and is very interested in working with us to find more solutions and is supporting what this committee is doing as well. And that's part of what is mentioned there is reevaluating the current formula we have with CAPS as well. I study the concept of instituting a Georgia child care trust fund similar to that of other states, something we talked about in our last hearing, and studying whether a tri-share program similar to that of North Carolina or Michigan will be feasible, along with increased employer incentives for child care access for their employees. I want to thank Senator Parent for bringing that topic up and also the child care trust fund idea as well. And finally, under increasing funding opportunities for child care providers, expand eligibility for Georgia's tax credit for employer-sponsored child care and making the amount of that credit more generous. Create and fund a Building Opportunities in Out-of-School Time Boost 2.0 grant program, and evaluate other new funding sources to account for programs with proven success and return on investment for families and communities in need of after-school programs. And finally, evaluate regional differences in CAPS reimbursement rates and other current reimbursement rates being provided are in the existing program. So those are the findings, recommendations of this report. As mentioned, the report has the testimony from everyone outlined in it. And so my hope is this report will be studied as part of going into the next upcoming legislative session as we all work together to find creative ways to help bring down the cost of childcare to make it more accessible for more families in our state. And so with that, I'll be happy to entertain any questions or remarks from anybody from the committee. And if they're, Senator Parent?
No, I was just going to say that I would be ready to make a motion when you are at the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman.
Now would be the appropriate time.
Great. So I would like to move that we adopt the report of the Affordable Child Care Study Committee and recommendations as outlined by the chairman during this meeting.
All right, we have a motion from Senator Parent to adopt the report as outlined in this committee. Do we have a second? Senator Dixon,
Second.
there we go. All right,
Yes, sir.
second from
Second.
Senator. Thank you. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 And Senator Brass? Let's see if we can get an aye from Senator Brass.
Maybe you got a phone call, Mr. Chairman.
There's Senator Rett. Come on in. Just in time. Please, Chairman Brass. Chairman Brass, in his defense, is balancing an event at the same time. So he's probably said Brian was talking too long, so I quit listening. Senator
I'm a
Rett,
yes.
for the record. All right. You vote yes?
I vote yes.
And Senator
Brass.
Rett, just for you know, we have a motion to pass the committee report by Senator Parent, second by Senator Dixon. Do you feel comfortable voting on that? He votes yes as well. All right. The report has been adopted with unanimous vote.
All right, I'm good.
And give me a
Why do we have to
longer,
travel out
Brass.
there across the country to do this?
Right.
Somebody should have something in the southeast. My family's a bunch of red builders that didn't have
All
any
right, make
idea
sure you
about
mute your phone
healthcare.
now.
All right, now how do I log out? I need help. Abigail, you're a professional.
All right, that's all the business we have today. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.